I guess it's about time for our William Tell routine.
On television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars, but we won't. We're slowly learning that fact. And we're very, very pissed off.
So it seems you've discovered your unpleasant nature.
Who are you?
Give me back my phone.
Do you know how many fucking car lengths it takes to stop a car at 35 miles an hour? 6 fucking car lengths! That's 106 fucking feet, mister! If I had to stop suddenly, you would have hit me! I want you to get a fucking driver's manual! I want you to study that motherfucker! And I want you to obey the goddamn rules! 50,000 people were killed on the highway last year because of fucking assholes like you!
Sonny, what did Roberta Sparrow say to you?
She said that every living creature on Earth dies alone.
How did that make you feel?
It reminded me of my dog, Callie. She died when I was 8, and she crawled underneath the porch.
To die.
To be alone.
Do you feel alone right now?
I don't know. I mean, I'd like to believe I'm not, but I've just never seen any proof, so I just don't debate it anymore, you know? It's like I could spend my whole life debating it over and over again, weighing the pros and cons, and in the end, I still wouldn't have any proof, so I just don't debate it anymore. It's absurd.
The search for God is absurd?
It is if everyone dies alone.
Does that scare you?
I don't want to be alone.
Are you sending me like instructions? Is that what you're gonna...
No. So you got 5 movies?
I have like 5 movies on my main list, but I've got like 30 movies here.
Yes.
I've narrowed it down to 5.
Yes.
I've narrowed it down to 5.
Yes.
It was hard.
Yes, it was.
Especially we had a house party through the house party app on Friday. So I asked everybody, and there was like 1,000 movies floating around, and I was like, okay, I have to narrow this down. Man, there's so many. Did you have a hard time finding yours, Mitch? Like getting it down to 5?
Yes. Oh my God. I have like 3 pages right now. And I was like I was like almost just still bouncing out of a couple where I'm like, this one deserves it. And I like, you can literally see the numbers erased and like movies crossed.
Oh yeah. I was showing the guys like, I don't know if you can see all this stuff, but I've got like 1,000 sticky notes.
I pretty much have a lot of movies that are going to be, what do they call it? Honorable mention.
Oh, we could do that.
Yeah. Like I do that, but I don't know if everybody else does that.
Don't test me, Mitch. We're all learning. We're in this together, guys.
You're like that teacher that just always has the positive outlook. Yeah, exactly.
Have you seen all the Rona commercials and stuff that are going on right now? I'm like, holy shit, this is real. Now there's commercials about it and stuff.
Yeah.
Rona.
Like me and Dan were talking about, it's in between the plaque psoriasis commercials.
Right, exactly.
All right, when are we going to get started? Who's going to start this episode off?
I can.
You want to do it?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Do it, Dan. Oh, wait, 10 seconds for Harambe, though.
I was about to throw that out there. Welcome, everybody, to the Drop Culture Podcast. I'm here with Brock. Say hi, Brock.
What up, guys?
Here with Mitch.
Hello.
And we are joined by Stephanie. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Stephanie. Welcome to the
What's
show.
up, guys? I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
We're happy to have you.
Yes.
And we're going to talk today about the top 5 mind-bending what the fuck movies.
That's a good way to put it.
That's all I can describe this as.
There's so many of them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to put it. This was the one that I had the hardest time, but then once I started researching, I was like, oh, holy shit.
Right.
There's tons of these.
Yeah. So yeah, there was a ton of, I think Stephanie, before we started, really talking, that she was saying like she has so many to dwindle down, and that's fact. That's a pretty broad subject.
Yes.
And can be taken a lot of ways, really.
That's the rabbit hole, right? That's the one that we don't want to go down because there's so many.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there's a lot of movies with this. So as anybody's ever listened to our top 5s, we kind of do a little roundtable discussion of everything. So we'll kind of start with our guest, Stephanie. So what's your number 5?
So number 5 for me was Butterfly Effect. Now I know may not be like the best movie ever, but it's definitely one of the it's a mind bender, right? And it opens that big paradox for us of if I can go back into time and change something, right? And then really the ripple effect on if you change that one thing, do you end up as a paraplegic later, or like how does it affect others? So I think that for me is a huge mind bender, just going back and changing things and then finally learning, you may not be able to change those things. So it was released in 2004. It's got Ashton Kutcher on it. I think Amy Smart is on there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely one of my my top 5.
That movie was kind of a unusual movie for Ashton Kutcher to do at the time.
Kutcher. The first time I saw that, I saw the director's cut, and I was like, "This movie's legit." I don't know what everybody's talking about, because if you've not seen that, I'm like, Christ, man, that's the whole movie right there.
Yes.
I don't know, but then I have seen the normal version. I'm like, no wonder people were like kind of blah about it.
Well, didn't they make like 4 more after that?
Direct to video or something.
There were some sequels.
I did not watch any of them.
Did they intersect with the Final Destination movies?
Perhaps.
No, but that would have been awesome.
They did start going down that same rabbit hole though of let's just make them. And you're like, oh boy, because after a while, Final Destination and most chains that make too many movies end up doing that. No?
Oh yeah,
no,
100%.
Yeah.
And then Butterfly Effect started doing that same thing with like Butterfly 4.
Well,
oh man,
yeah.
it gets disappointing as you go further. But the first one, absolutely, I was like, holy crap, this is awesome. And then it was really envelope kind of pushing with the reason why the girl was so messed up. Don't want to give away the whole movie there so people can go and watch it who haven't already seen it. But that was also kind of like, ooh, this is icky. It makes you feel dirty. Ew. Yeah,
there's so many. There's so real about it because everybody's been put in any kind of position to want to go back and change things. Right. And then if you had the opportunity to go back and change things, what does that do? And then having that butterfly effect, the actual theory that they have that if you harm a butterfly in the past, it could change the course of the future forever. Right, like you can't step on anything in prehistoric times,
right?
Where the T-Rexes live,
Right.
It's like one of those things that, yeah. I mean, you really put yourself into that situation. And again, with these mind-bending movies, you do. I think most movies you do, except for like Bad Boys or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, you'll put yourself in like a post-apocalyptic movie. You'll put yourself in a horror movie. Like, what do you do in that situation? Which makes them, in the very first ones, are the ones that are the ones that appreciate throughout the years. They actually get better and better and better. But it's been years since I've seen the Butterfly Effect.
Well, I recommend watching the director's cut and that one only.
Yeah.
Because then it makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Mitch, what do you have for your number 5?
Well, my number 5 is sitting with a Shutter Island.
Ooh.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah. That almost made my list.
Yes.
It was
one of the ones that I actually scratched off another thing, which I'm sad to say it actually took the spot of Memento, which is huge for me. But for some reason, Shutter Island, it has this thing where I have not watched it that many times for it to really make a top 5. But at the same time, I remember just how it engulfed me, and especially the ending. For whatever reason, I did not see it coming. I don't know if other wiser minds or anything like that, but like it just took me. It was a mind bender at its best. And when I thought mind bender, this is one of the few that really just took me just a total 180. And I liked it. It was really good. Leonardo DiCaprio did really good in this one. He also was a U.S. Marshal. He did a bunch of other things where he was pretty much figuring out his own mystery.
Yeah.
Or he was living. I don't want to give too much, but either way, if you watch it, you're just watching it, and then all of a sudden at the end, you're like, "Oh my god, this makes sense. This makes sense." Have you guys seen it?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. No, I like the colors in it. I like the backstory of the place, everything like that in it. Yeah.
It's an insane asylum for anybody who doesn't know about it.
Everything was just really cool. Didn't it have Clancy? No, Clancy Brown wasn't in that.
No, it really reminds me of A Cure for Wellness. Like it has kind of that same like aesthetics in the movie itself. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the vibe is very well done. Mark Ruffalo was in it. I don't know if that is somebody that you guys, the Hulk.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, he did a lot of good movies before he did get the Hulk gig. A lot of independent movies.
He just was like, "Hey, I'm getting a paycheck now, so don't need to make those anymore."
Yeah, DiCaprio killed it in that role. So did everybody else. I mean, it was just a really good. It was a mind-bending movie because then you're just like, it was unusual because it was fresh, you know.
Yeah.
And at that time, because when did it come out? Like 2007 or 8 or something like that?
It was a long time ago. 2010, I think, though. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2010 isn't that bad, but overall, I just really like it. I mean, directed by Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
You're going to have a decent time with it if that's the case. For those reasons, that's why it made my top 5. And nice. I don't know who's next, but take it away if you want.
Dan, you want to go?
Sure.
Okay.
My number 5 is Session 9.
What's this?
It's a horror film from 2001. It's got David Caruso in it. It was weird because when I first saw this, I saw it was made by like USA Network, but it was a movie, and it didn't come out like on their channel. You know what I mean? It was like a movie.
Yeah.
And it was really fucking good, dude. It was directed by Brad Anderson, and it's about a crew that goes in to take the asbestos out of a mental asylum, an abandoned mental asylum. And I'm not going to give any more of that away. It's good. You should watch it.
What's it called?
It's called Session 9.
Session 9.
Yeah. But great stuff. Definitely a mind bender.
Yeah, I've never.
It's really funny. We don't want to give anything away to the point where we're not even able to talk about the movies.
Yeah, it's like, well, I don't know if I want to be that vague, but there's like a breakdown in they find out things that happen there. Things start happening here. It's weird. I don't want to give too much away, man. It's just a good
and I've
movie.
never heard that one, so I've got my whole little separate list of stuff that you guys may bring up that I've never seen that I'm writing down, and that's on there. So sounds good.
Yeah, you should check it out though. Good stuff.
Is it on streaming anywhere?
I have no idea.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
I call these kind of like movies a trust fall movie. Just gonna have to trust them.
Yeah.
Definitely do.
So that's what I got.
Cool. My number 5 is Donnie Darko.
Oh,
yeah.
So
yes.
This is like my number 2, dude. So
I knew we were going to have some pollination there, but Donnie Darko. Holy crap. We'll wait until we get to your turn.
We'll just talk about it.
Yeah, talk about it at that point. But that's my number 5 just because it really does kind of hit you. Anybody else got it on their list?
It's on my list as my number 2.
Mitch,
but I have a whole list of other ones I can replace it with now, so we're good.
Honestly, because it was scratched off of my original one because of the fact that I was like, somebody else is going to have it on that list.
Well, that's why I put it at number 5, because it's not my top one, but you know, as far as like the whole what the fuck is going on movies, yeah, this one is like
Frank.
right there. Yeah, it's completely 100% like everywhere. All right, Stephanie, back to you.
Okay, so we're on to my number 4. Right now, my number 4 I have as Old Boy. So,
Ooh, that one almost
Have you
made my
guys seen
list. Yeah.
have you guys seen it? Okay. So
Which
and
one?
I'm talking about, so there's the 2005 one. That's the Japanese one, right? So that's the original Old Boy. I'm talking about the 2013 one because I just Josh Brolin. Come on, that's awesome.
Okay.
And that one I didn't know was directed by Spike Lee.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea until I was like researching it, but that one completely blew my mind because I never seen the original Old Boy, the 2005 version. Saw the 2013 one, and then I was like, "Holy crap! This is just like psychotic. This is twisted. Like, who came up with this? This person is a sick man."
Yeah.
But then I researched and did, found that there was another Old Boy. It's like a overall cult classic from what I understand. But really just a sick and twisted thing. Like I did not see the end coming. I had no idea. And then when it hits you, you're like, oh my God, it makes sense. It's the worst way.
Yeah. No, I was a fan of the original one before the new one came out because of the fight scene with the axes.
Right.
Where when he's fighting the dude, oh my God, that's brutal. And I the remake really did a great job of capturing the original fight for it too.
Right.
But what really did it for me on the new version of it that I liked a lot was the main bad guy, Charlton Copley. He's like fucking awesome in everything that he does. And he was really, really, really good. And am I thinking of the same one? Yeah. Cause and cause it was even more twisted in the new one.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Then-
I was like, who, how? No
Yeah.
way.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And then when you're talking about like these mind benders and how much empathy we have, right? Like putting yourself in that situation for that particular one. Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh, you're like, ugh.
Yeah. What the fuck? Even the original one too, because the original one had the guy from Snowpiercer in it. It wasn't it a Bong Joon-ho or some shit like that?
The guy that with his daughter in Snowpiercer.
Yeah,
or that girl or whatever.
Yeah. That guy's in that one. I mean, it's so brutal too. I mean, in the original one too, he's eating like a live octopus. And the fucking thing is like, he passes out. And the fucking thing's like sticking to his face and shit. And the Josh Brolin one, didn't it have the Scarlet Witch in it? What's her name?
Emily Olsen?
Yeah. The Olsen, the Olsen chick.
Oh yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. That's the, ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's her.
I was excited when it came out. And I mean, that's when Josh Brolin was kind of coming back up. He was kind of getting a little bit more popularity before, of course, Infinity War and everything like that. So it was kind of hitting on all cylinders, and it was a Spike Lee joint too.
Right.
I think it really started with the Goonies.
Yeah, well, of course.
That's an OG, triple OG.
But like he fucking died out for a long time, and then he came back. And this one was kind of like really off the cuff for him too. But the whole premise behind it is just like, what the fuck?
Well, and that's one of those movies, as you're watching it, right? Like the first time you're seeing it, you're like outwardly speaking, what is going on? Why are they locking him up? What the hell? And then it's a great movie.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's worthy of a what the fuck.
Yes.
Because after you get done with that movie, you're like, oh God, I got to take a shower.
Exactly.
Ugh, it's gross. Like, I'm gonna go do something to clean something. I gotta rub my eyeballs with some fucking Dawn dish detergent or some shit.
Bleach them.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
on Reddit call it eye bleach.
So that was a great pick. I almost put the original one on my list, but I was like, no, I'm not gonna put that one there. Mitch.
So my number 4, I forgot that we usually like announce it when the other person does, but my number 4 was, I almost said Donnie Darko. I don't know why. Butterfly Effect. And so I was like, crap, but I have plenty to replace it with. This one is an ode to Brock. The only reason I'm replacing it with this is because of Brock.
Oh, thanks.
The Matrix.
Ooh,
Fuck
it's
you.
on my list too.
Fuck the Matrix.
I just think of phone booths anytime I think of Brock and the Matrix. Steph, do you know that story of Brock's hatred for the Matrix?
No.
He loved the movie until the very last scene where he's in the phone booth. And then he flew away and he goes, I hate it. I hate the whole thing. And he boycotted it ever since.
I fucking hate that movie. Just because of that.
Just because of that one scene.
That one scene just fucked it all up.
It ruined it all when he flies away and he looks like a potato. Like I'm fucking done. Like they shot it on.
Look like a potato.
Yeah, like they shot it on a fucking like a handheld fucking VHS-C tape, and like splice it into the end. They're like, well, we need a good climax. What are we gonna do? Let's make him fucking fly.
They should have had Bon Jovi on there, like, I'm gonna fly. Well, I'll just move on since Steph is probably going to talk about the Matrix because it's on the list. So, Dan,
I moved it, so we're good.
Oh.
You can talk about it because it was on like my original list of like 30,000 movies, so it didn't make my top 5. So you're good to go.
Ooh, okay, cool. So, I mean, honestly, the Matrix, I threw it on my list just momentarily ago, but it's well known enough that everybody knows it. The whole thing is, I think this is a first mind bender for a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people that were more of a new age scene. They didn't know a lot of those mind bender type of movies, and they went and saw this for the first time, and it was like a whole, whoa, he is the one. At this point, if I'm spoiling it, it's
too
your
bad.
loss.
Yeah.
It's been out long enough.
You lose.
I mean, if you haven't heard Neo the One and any reference to that since, then you are Amish. Welcome to my family.
Yes.
So that movie is great, though, for the fact that it was different than what anybody else was doing. It was definitely taking a new age approach to what was happening and saying, look at where this could go. I think it's almost like a step into augmented and virtual and getting to that next level. And the first person that's ever going to implement like a thing where you have to inject it into the back of your head to like upload, people are going to freak out. They're going to be like, it's the Matrix from 100 years ago.
Doesn't Musk already has that? Like they're working on that neural link.
By the way, I would totally take that.
The blue or the red pill, that's always the conversation, right? Like I think the coolest thing for the Matrix for me is that it again, we're going back to that whole empathy thing, but that you're going into the office, that like rinse and repeat type of mentality, and you're like, there's got to be something more. It's the fucking Matrix. So that's how it sucks, I think, a lot of people in, right? Because you're like, holy shit.
And you see him living his other type of life.
Yeah.
So you see his like nightlife where he just hates his day-to-day job and he just wants to do this full time, and he doesn't have any friends, but he gets this message, tells him to like, hey, branch out, and it leads down this rabbit hole.
Oh,
rabbit.
Follow the white rabbit.
Oh man, such a great movie.
Agreed.
But yeah. Either way, moving on with Dan's top or number 4, right?
Yeah, I think number 4.
What's yours?
My number 4 is Dark City.
Ooh, good one. Good
one.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's like from 1998. Kiefer Sutherland, Jennifer Connelly, William Hurt.
Yeah, I know. William Hurt.
This movie is just from the beginning kind of takes you somewhere you don't expect it to take you.
No, it's a weird
from
like
the very beginning of this movie to the very end, you're like, what the fuck?
Well,
and there is some cohesion of story, don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? It's not like it just, this is a bunch of light and color, or color and sound. It's got a story. It was directed by the guy that directed The Crow.
What's his name?
Boys.
Yeah. What? Shit.
Alex Proyas.
Yes.
I was just reading on it because I want to make sure I'm thinking about the same movie here.
Now the main guy in this movie too, Rufus Sewell, he did a lot of stuff in kind of at this period too, but he never really did more.
This was
kind of
it for it. Yeah,
this was 98. I mean, even Kiefer Sutherland's character was pretty fucking wicked.
Yeah.
But the one character out of the whole movie that I like the most is Bruce Spence. He was in all the Ozploitation movies back in the day. But then you got Richard O'Brien too. Richard O'Brien was in, whatever you call it, Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, that dude's a badass. Everything that he really is in. He was in even the spin-off from that, Shock Therapy or some shit like that. So he's been in a lot of stuff. But Bruce Spence was in all the Mad Max movies.
Yeah.
Or Mad Max 2 and Mad Max 3, but he's kind of one of those character actors that's been around for a long time, but all of their whole crew in that movie too. Have you guys seen it, Stephanie? Have you seen it?
I've seen it. I've seen it, but I was looking at the IMDb stuff on it, and I'm trying to make sure it's the same movie that I was thinking of, and I think I'm getting it mixed up with something else. So
it's a wicked fucking movie.
I really enjoyed it, and again, it's not. There is a cohesive story, and it's themed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I just enjoyed the overall experience and didn't expect it to be that movie.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I know. It was weird. Because he didn't really do a lot. Alex Proyas didn't really do a lot of movies after The Crow. And this was like his follow-up, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, like I was watching this deal on Shudder the other day. I don't know if you guys have Shudder.
Oh, I love Shudder.
Did you watch the Cursed Films documentaries?
No, I haven't
Holy
watched
shit.
it yet.
You'll watch all of them in a row. And it's only like a 5-parter. So it's The Exorcist, Poltergeist, The Crow, and what was the other one? The Twilight Zone, the movie.
Oh,
so
right
they
on.
kind of, and I mean, the Crow one was really good, and that was Proyas wasn't in it, but yeah, I mean, he makes these really dark, weird movies anyway.
Right.
So it kind of turned into something with Dark City, going from, The Crow, which was a dark movie, into that right there is a good turn. And that Rufus Sewell dude, again, he didn't really do nothing afterwards.
No.
Which is the weird part. I mean, it is a what the fuck kind of a movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Shudder's got a lot of what the F kind of movies there. Shameless plug, but Shudder is amazing. It's a horror, sci-fi, crazy app that you just got all these crazy movies. And they got a lot of original content on there too. So
yeah, that's the cool part is they're actually coming out with good original content.
Well, as I recommend to everyone, every show, do the free trial of everything.
Yep.
Right now is the
It's
time
worth
to do a free trial for anything you want to do. You should be doing it right now.
Well, I think hopefully they do more Cursed Films because I like the series that they did that had like Glenn Danzig on it and shit like that, where they went behind the scenes and did some cool shit. Right. Even Elijah Wood's podcast is on there.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of cool shit, and this one just popped up.
I endorse Shudder, by the way. I like Shudder as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, after you get through the initial...
Not a sponsor.
Yeah.
But friend of the show.
Yeah. After you get through the first initial, 30 days of it, then you're like, oh, I just need to go back and check what's still on there.
Right.
I think this month they put all the Friday the 13th movies on it.
Yep, we already did all of that. I was so excited. I'm like, quarantine, Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I was watching 3 and I fell asleep through it because I've seen it for a million times.
Dude, the New Blood, I couldn't stay awake, and I'm like, this is one of my most favorite ones, but I kept falling asleep. I'm like, stay awake.
Well, that was the first one with Kane Hodder, so.
Oh, no, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so it was worth it to stay awake. I might watch that today. I don't know. It's been a long time.
Well, after that 10-minute shameless plug for Shudder.
Yes.
I know.
Not a sponsor. Maybe they could be. Maybe they couldn't be.
They are definitely not going to be if we keep talking like that.
All right. So my number 4, most of my mindfuckery movies go all the way back to the 80s.
Okay.
But my number 4 is Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen Jacob's Ladder, it is nasty. I mean, it's a fucking assault on the senses. It fucks you up the whole time. And then Home Dude does such a great job in the movie. And Elizabeth Pena's in it. And then what's his name? Is the main guy. But I mean, you follow this guy throughout. He kind of comes back from Vietnam, and then everything's all fucked up. And have you guys seen it?
I don't remember Jacob's Ladder.
I've seen Jacob's Ladder like a million times, and I can't think of that dude's fucking name.
Yeah. Yeah, he's married to Susan Sarandon.
Me Cheadle, you watch it?
Huh?
No,
I was asking me Cheadle. Mitchell.
I've seen it on. Oh yeah, my God.
Tim Robbins.
Thank you.
I responded to it like it was nothing. I was like, oh yeah. No, I've of course heard of Jacob's Ladders 1,000 times over again, but I've never actually watched it. I've seen it on the television, but I've never actually watched it. Yeah, I mean everybody's seen that kind of movie, right?
Yeah. Oh no, Ving Rhames.
Like you've seen it, but you've never watched it.
Yeah, it's got a lot of people that you've seen in a lot of movies, and then whenever you do see them on there, you're like, oh yeah, that dude's in it, because it shows Danny Aiello's in it. Call back to the stuff. Matt Craven, he's been in a lot of stuff. Pruitt Taylor Vince, he's the guy that his eyes, when you look at him, he was on Constantine, and he was that one guy that stabs his hand with the symbol after he drinks
Yeah,
that dude right there. Jason Alexander is in this movie. Eric LaSalle.
Tim Robbins. Okay, I gotta watch this.
Yeah, Ving Rhames. There's a lot of people in this movie.
Wait, you mean Ving Rhames of the Aquaman pilot from 2007
that I still haven't watched? I need to watch
of that fame.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm in.
This movie fucks with you, though. It really does. After the first time you see it, you're like,
100%.
This is one of the introductions into the mindfuck movies for me, too. One of them.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the first ones I saw, and I was like, holy crap, it's like a horror movie / fantasy / what the hell's going on? You find out, of course, with all of these movies kind of at a really crazy part, and you're like, holy shit, I can't believe, and you have to look back at these movies when you're watching them after you've just seen them and everything's fresh in your brain. You're like, that's right. Holy shit, that was in there. Oh my God.
Right.
And this one really fucking does it because, I mean, it's crazy because I think it's like, wasn't it kind of based on, it's nothing true in it, but it's based on like something that had happened.
Yeah.
Experiments that were happening at the time. Yeah. There was a lot of LSD. Awesome. Yeah, there was a lot of LSD experiments, but this wasn't it. This was more chemical warfare stuff. So, yeah, I mean, if you haven't watched it, after you get done with it, you're going to be like, holy shit.
That's all I'm doing. After this, I'm going to go watch Session 9, Jacob's Ladder, Dark City. Yeah, awesome. I'm using you guys more.
Yeah. All right. So, Stephanie, what is your number 3?
Number 3. My freaking mic keeps falling. What am I doing with my life? Okay, so I think you guys are going to love it. I love it. So, my number 3 pick, Mindbender. 12 Monkeys.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
It's a great one.
Yeah.
Oh, 12
I thought you were
Monkeys.
about to say the movie was called Mindbender, and I was like, ooh, meta.
That's like Inception for our show. Mindbender inside the Mindbender.
Yes.
So yeah, 12 Monkeys definitely for me. I'm a huge Brad Pitt fan, but that movie I remember watching as a child and just like being hooked on this, right? Because it came out in 95, so I think I was like 10. And I remember watching this movie with my stepdad at the time, and it was like super late at night. He went and got the movies. Everybody watched the movies they wanted to. Nobody wanted to stay up and watch this movie with us. And we're like sitting there glued to the TV. And I just remember that whole entire movie, just what the F. And then as, the end of the movie, when you realize what's really going on and who he really is, then it all makes sense, right? Then you're like, oh my God. But that really for me is very nostalgic movie because I specifically remember exactly where I was when I watched it for the first time and just how sick and twisted it was as a child. And then as I got older, I enjoyed it even more just, rewatching that movie. So,
dude, that movie is fucking, there's 2 directors, I think, that make the most what the fuck movies. One is Terry Gilliam and the other one is David Lynch. Now, Terry Gilliam can fucking spin it. And I love the way that he films his stuff. And the pacing in it is so frantic and weird. And the look of his films, and especially this one when he's in the future, you're just like, what the fuck? This is so weird. Everybody's underground. He's going up above. I mean, the look of everything. So it's kind of post-apocalyptic. What the fuck? But yet they invent this way, so they can, maybe repopulate above, which is so crazy because they do show a tiger. So it's kind of like if the world were to end from COVID-19, right?
Oh God!
All the tigers from Tiger King would get out. They would take over the fucking United States. But there's a tiger in this movie, and I just remembered it. I was like, holy shit. No, this movie though, Bruce Willis kills it in this movie too. Yeah. It's so unusual, but this was like one of Brad Pitt's breakout roles, I guess you could say, because he was so fucking good in it.
Yeah.
Oh man, I still love the term mentally divergent.
Absolutely.
I want to get that tattooed on me somewhere.
Nice.
Are you mentally divergent?
What's
I
in
too.
the monkey?
What's in the monkey? Oh wait, wrong movie. That one almost made my list too, though. By the way.
Yeah. That one was high up on my picks too, but it didn't make the list just because. I mean,
making these lists made me realize that there's certain actors that definitely kind of go with those kind of mindbender roles.
Oh,
and I started realizing how many actors that I've loved that also circle around mindbender movies, and I was like, I'm starting to see a pattern.
One pattern I noticed a lot is the whole time, right? Like we're gonna go back, we're gonna cover what happened back here, or you're actually really going back in time. Like Butterfly Effect, they're going back in time. 12 Monkeys, lots of jumping, back and forth to the past and present. Old Boy for me. I mean, looking at my list, there's a lot of that time stuff in our mind bending. Like that's a huge theme.
Yeah, you just really don't know what's going on, especially, and like 12 Monkeys. 12 Monkeys is so fucking discombobulated. Right. The whole time you're just like, how is he doing this? And then where's he going with this? And then you kind of learn as you go. And then I did watch the TV show. Did you ever watch the TV show, Steph?
No, I didn't even know there was a TV show.
Yeah, it was on Sci-Fi. The first couple of episodes were decent, but I never finished it. I think they got about 2, maybe 3 seasons into it. But it was the same premise, everything like that. They just kind of updated it and didn't have the Terry Gilliam effect, which his colors, I think, in his movies are very, very, I guess, contrasty. I don't know how to say it, but they're so stark and it's so real because it's like found parts. Everything in his movie looks like they put together something. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's whatever they have around, they make everything fucking work. Like it could be a wire that's split into 15 different parts, but yeah, it's actually functional. That's what he does. Right. I think really good in his movies. And in this one, that whole world is so discombobulating that you don't really know who's who and you can't see where everything's going, but yeah, that he's from the future. You learn that in the first 5 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you kind of get to see a little bit of it, but, and then the year timeline stuff.
I was going to say this movie covers a lot of bases, I think, as far as I don't know. It really seems reality based, but with sci-fi, like a sci-fi timeline.
Yep.
Deal. Yeah. Which I like. I liked it a lot.
I was looking at an infographic of post-apocalyptic timelines, and 12 Monkeys is not that far away from where we're at right now.
Right?
Yeah. But no, like Blade Runner, shit like that. It had everything, and like Planet of the Apes was at the very end because it was like way the fuck out in the future. Because that is a good what the fuck one. That's a good honorable mention. Right. It's Planet of the Apes because you're like no, and that was one of the very first ones that you see him at the very end. And if you haven't seen that scene, Jesus Christ, you need to get
spoiler alert.
Yeah. you need to like I don't know, go look up who Charlton Heston is.
Right.
Right. And, it's just kind of like everything that we've already been talking about. It gets to the end and you're like, holy shit. Right. That was he was on Earth the whole time? There's no way.
You're like, oh my God, I feel insane now. Like the dumbass movies that you watch where you just feel dumber after you watch them. With these ones, you feel a little crazy. At least I do. I'm like, holy shit, that really messed with my mind.
Agreed.
Yeah, that really does. I mean, that's kind of like the best consensus for it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm fucked up. And then some are really nasty.
I need to go rethink things for a moment. Hold on.
yeah. I'm going to take a break.
Step outside for a minute.
Yeah. Okay. Mitch. Where are we at? That was a good hard pivot. I'm like, okay.
And this now. So, I'm here. Hi, Mitch.
Hi, Mitch.
My number 3. Honestly, this was weird. This movie was not a movie that I thought of as a mind bender, right? And I saw it on some lists online, and I was like, why is this movie on their lists? And I get it, but it's not the level of the movies that we've been talking about when it comes to mind bending until I really thought about it. This movie takes the normal mind bending movie and changes the perspective. It makes you watch it from the other person that's like setting the trap, right? Instead of the person that's going through it. So a lot of the Mindbender movies, you're the main person going through it, and you have their knowledge most of the time, with little tidbits here and there. But you experience it a little bit more because you're following that main character. Where this one is the behind the scenes that you're watching. Any hints yet?
No, man, the suspense is killing me.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and it's gonna be. It's probably like a little bit of a lackluster.
I was gonna say, The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. No, The Truman Show.
Yeah,
right
on,
yes,
man.
no, that is a huge mind bender.
Yeah,
so
for
yeah,
sure.
like I didn't think about it as a mind bender really until I started thinking about it, and I was like, it's a cool concept because you're in on it. You know everything that's going on. And you see him processing it and going through it and all that kind of stuff, but it's a mind bender from a different perspective. So I was like, that's a good number 3. I like that. It's a good movie. I didn't think of it as a mind bender, but I mean, everybody's seen that too, right? Of course.
Yeah. I actually recently saw The Truman Show for the first time. I want to say a couple months ago. And Carlos was like, "What? You've never seen this movie? This is like a great movie." And I watched it and I was like, "Holy shit, this is awesome. How did I miss this?" But then it makes you like, you know, at least for me when I'm like in public and like everybody kind of turns around and looks at you, you're like, "What the hell? Am I in the damn Truman Show?" Or like, you know, you go somewhere and everybody's all of a sudden suddenly there. Again, this is pre-COVID, right? Like you go somewhere to a restaurant and everybody's there. You're like, "What the hell?"
It's all Facebook shit right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
Zuckerberg.
No, that's a good example of something that you're just like you said, you're watching the behind the scenes for it, right. So you actually get to see, you know, the world plot around him that's been built up, and you feel for the guy. I mean, because Jim Carrey does a great job.
Man,
you know,
kills it.
Yeah, one of his or that was his first real serious movie. You know, it was such a turn for him too. So the subject matter fitting really well. I mean, and then isn't Ed Harris in that movie too? I think so.
Actually playing not an evil bastard. Yes.
I know, right. Yeah. So I mean, you really do, you almost become the audience like in the movie too. You know, everybody watching the Truman Show 24/7, right. You know, you become part of that world that's watching him from the outside, you know, so you're pulling for him because it's just like all the other characters in the movie are pulling for him too, you know. Yeah. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
I watched it maybe a year ago with one of my daughters. Just put it on one time. And
that's a good father right there.
Yeah, you know.
Movie appreciation, man.
You do.
Have to do that with your kids.
You got to impact their lives somehow.
I don't know that she cared for it as much. I'm just going to throw that out there. So, but
she's like, why didn't he just?
But it was a good movie, right?
In the world or not?
No, that one came out in the 90s too, didn't it? It was like 90, 99 or something.
I have no idea.
Something like that.
I think you're right. I did not look up any of that info, so I apologize, but I believe you're right.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, it was just such a, I don't know. It almost kind of does remind me of just the same kind of world that Dark City, you know, since me and Dan know that movie, it kind of gives you a little insight into what that movie kind of is like under glass. It's like a life under glass, you know.
Same same message, different delivery.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. That's a perfect way to put it. No,
that's why I said it.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah, like Dan said it. Brock, you dumbass. Okay. Okay, who are we
I'm
on?
so sorry.
Dan, I believe you are up with your number 3.
With my number 3. My number 3 is a David Lynch film.
Ooh.
And it is Lost Highway.
Fuck you, man.
What?
That's my number 1.
That's your number 1?
That's my number 1.
All right. Well, we'll hold off on it and we'll talk about it.
No. We don't have to. We can talk about it now because you already know my number 1.
Yeah, Brock will just have to replace his number 1. See?
Damn. How am I going to do that?
Replacement's
Okay. All right. I'll replace my number 1. There'll be an asterisk.
I've never seen Lost Highway, so I'm trying. I want to hear what this is all about.
Go for it, Dan.
So, real quick, Bill Pullman, Patricia Arquette. That's the main peoples in it. This movie is crazy. This dude gets framed for the murder of his wife. He gets sent to prison. And then, he becomes a young mechanic and begins leading a new life. Ta-da!
There's got to be more.
Oh, there's a lot more.
Oh, my God.
There's a lot more, but I don't want to tell you anymore.
Yeah.
I felt like that was enough. That was succinct.
I'm watching today.
Yeah. No, Lost Highway will fucking...
Trent Reznor?
Yeah.
Did the soundtrack for...
Yeah. No, that soundtrack was one of the fucking coolest soundtracks that I've ever heard. The Smashing Pumpkins song on that one is really good.
Yeah.
But no, that Bill Pullman is fucking great in that movie, even though Bill Pullman is like only kind of like he's a senator, you know what I mean? And like that's who he reminds you of, you know?
Right.
He's the president in fucking ID4.
Independence Day, right?
Yes. Yeah. So like, I mean, you know him kind of in that, but this one fucking... And who is the one of the dudes in there that's really the ferret dude that like got in trouble for killing his wife? There's a lot of big actors in this. Henry Rollins is in it. Henry Rollins' part is actually pretty cool. There's so many people, and then the younger guy is in it. There's just a lot of fucking like really good parts to this movie.
Yeah.
Patricia Arquette's fucking pretty awesome in this movie too.
The whole movie is just awesome.
Marilyn Manson, Twiggy Ramirez.
Yep.
Oh man, I gotta watch this.
Yeah, you don't really see them that much, but it's not a movie that you want to watch with your kids around.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
Duly noted.
Yes, David Lynch is one of those guys that, I mean, he just takes the color black and adds colors on top of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and black is not a color, I guess, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it's the
whatever.
absence of color, you know what I mean? But if you were to take like just a complete black background and put somebody in white above it, you got a David Lynch film. Just because it is he uses the minimal amount of color, but he makes it so fucking vibrant that it kills.
Yeah.
And this movie is no exception. It's jarring. The first time I watched this one, I was tripping on acid.
Oh, wow.
Oh god.
So, yeah. Oh my God. I had to take like 3 breaks throughout this movie. Like for real. Like, cause my friend he had rented it and he was tripping acid the day before. I think he took like 2 hits, he said. And he was in his bedroom and he was watching, he was like, you gotta watch this fucking movie. So nobody was at my house and I had a big screen TV, right? My dad bought a big screen. It was one of those old school console ones, you know?
Right.
Like that looked like a fucking end table, you know, set up on its side and shit. And, I remember we put it on and then within 10 minutes, I mean, we started tripping. Uh-huh. Oh my God. Like I was breathing along with the other characters in the movie.
Wow.
And then at one point I like put the picture on and it fucked with us so hard we had to stop because I was making it go down these stairs, but yet I was making it move with my hand too and was like, let's go. So we ended up outside. Yeah, dude. Oh my God. It was perfect.
And that is why that is your number one.
Yeah, that is why that was my number one. Because
Makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, because it fucked me up. Like even though I ended up buying it at a flea market or some shit like that years later, I still watch it and I'm like, oh my god, I'm tripping again. Holy shit.
Getting flashbacks. Dude, that's like tripping for free.
Oh my god. I know. If you want to sit through the quietness of that movie, that's the cool part about Lynch's stuff too. Is he's got a lot of good background stuff and it's so quiet, but yet in the parts that it needs to be loud, it's louder than fuck. And you're like, oh, holy shit.
Right.
And then again, throwing in the colors, because Robert Loggia's character in that movie is fucking so cool. Robert Loggia, he drives like a Mercedes in it. It's fucking bitchin' part. There's so many goddamn fucking parts in that movie that are so good. And if you've never seen Lost Highway, you have to watch that movie.
Yep, it's like I said, I'm walking away with some really good movies to watch today.
Since Dan took my number one, my number three, I'm gonna hit it.
Okay.
Brazil. Oh. I knew it. Was that your number one?
Yeah.
See, we switched.
Damn yous.
Any idea what they're talking about with this one?
Nope.
You never seen Brazil?
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
No.
Okay, I wasn't even sure because I was like, I have no idea if that's even a movie.
Okay, so
Oh, I
first of
think
all,
I offended
everybody
them. I'm
stop.
sorry, guys.
Everybody just stop for a minute.
Yes.
Hold on. Hold on.
Man, I feel like really out of touch with the mind bending scene there. So I don't know. I'm like, wait, I thought I was like a movie aficionado, but like, what the hell?
The only list that I'm getting is yours. So you get-
Oh my god, the fucking Brazil. Holy shit. Do you want to talk about it right now too?
Yeah,
It's just we did the-
your number, you know. Go.
We had
You
the
can
same
start.
number.
We did.
We had the same three
Ones
and
and
same
one,
number one.
one.
That's
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, that
I
is
knew it was
weird.
going to happen.
Yeah, of
I knew it
course,
was going to
of
happen.
course.
It
Number
always does.
13,
Yes.
Jim Carrey. No, I'm just it was 27 or something like I don't know.
Brazil really kicks your ass too. Brazil gets you. It's a Terry Gilliam movie too. So, you know, me and Dan, of course, always talk about Terry Gilliam. Not really a lot of David Lynch, but we do know David Lynch like a lot. I mean, and like I said kind of earlier, having those mind-bending movies, and those are the two most mind-bending directors, I would think, you know, out of everybody, because they consistently fuck with you whenever you watch them. And Terry Gilliam, again, in this one, it's not really in the future, is it? I mean, it doesn't. It's weird. It's very,
a
very weird.
dystopian world to some degree. So,
But it's got a lot of technology in it. But is it real technology?
It's technology that's based off of things that
Found
weren't
objects.
upgraded.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like they have typewriters and like magnifying. You know those things that old people get to read the menus at restaurants. You know, the lenticular things that you put on the menu. And you're like, oh shit, oh okay, you got clams a la clams.
Yeah.
You know.
It's so funny that you mentioned this because on the clearance aisle at Staples just yesterday, I literally saw that and I was like, wow, I haven't seen that in so many years. And now you're talking about it.
Brazil?
About Brazil.
Oh,
no,
my God.
Brazil, the magnifying glass.
Oh, yeah.
Brazil, the movie at Staples on clearance.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, which one? I'm going to go get it today. No, this one too, like he has daydreams in it, and his daydreams are really, they progress and they get really cool. A lot of the shots in this one too, because it's that weird, like if you were to throw dust on a set, and then it'd be blue dust. That's kind of what you get. It's so grainy and so just weird because it came out in 1985.
Yeah.
Jonathan Pryce has been in so many different movies. You might know him from, he was on Pirates of the Caribbean. God, he's on so many different things. He was on that Pope movie, the Pope Mobile movie that almost won the Oscar. It was like the chase with popes, like he stole the Pope Mobile.
I don't think I watched that.
He was driving through
Did
Italy.
You watch it?
Yeah, no.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Is this a real movie?
No.
I was like, damn, I'm in.
Yeah, it's the Pope chase.
Son of a bitch. I'm in.
Pope chase.
But he's been in tons of shit. And this one, he's really young. Robert De Niro makes an appearance in this one too. That's the cool part. because he does surprise you, and you're like, holy shit, that's Robert De Niro. But Terry Gilliam, again, with like 12 Monkeys, you know, I mean, he has the same look. 12 Monkeys is fucking slick. It looks great. I mean, everything is like razor sharp.
Yeah.
Almost. It looks fucking great, even though it's dirty and grimy and you get to see the underbelly of everything. But then this one is like even dirtier, but it's not sharp. You know what I mean? Like it's like a toothbrush, you know, dirty.
Right.
You know, it looks like the end of the bristles on a toothbrush. I guess it's the best way I could describe it. But the whole premise of the movie is everything's just a mistake, but yet it just keeps going.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean that's not really what the whole thing is about. But of course that's what your catalyst is on the movie.
Right.
And it's so cool. Even Bilbo Baggins is in it.
Right.
The guy that played him in the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. Yeah, not the new Bilbo. He wouldn't have been born yet, I don't think. But it really does, like, I don't know. This one fucks with you big time too, because you don't know what's real and what's not real. Because he's such, oh yeah, Smangela's in it.
Smangela?
Yes, she is in it. That I remember watching this, and the first time I watched this
Judith
one,
Light?
Yeah, Judith Light. Yeah, the first time I watched this was on like IFC again when it was cool.
Yeah.
And they, yeah, R.I.P. IFC.
Yeah, right. Hashtag that out on the Twitters and the Instagrams.
Hashtag RIP IFC. There's a lot of good stuff that happened. But I mean, this one was kind of like, it was almost, it was just so excruciatingly weird, you know? And, there's some, cause again, it was Terry Gilliam. He had a couple of the, or he only had one of the dudes from, whatever you call it, Monty Python. The one dude, Michael Palin.
Yeah.
He was in it. But I don't know. You really have to see it just because it's so fucking weird. And then you'll start really appreciating more of what Terry Gilliam does.
Yeah.
Cause this one really, I mean, one of the coolest thing that I think that he did before this, besides all the Monty Python movies, was like whenever he did that short about Before the Meaning of Life, where it's like all the old dudes and they're pirates on the ship, but it's a building ship.
Yeah.
You know,
they're like taking over corporations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like pirates and shit. It's fucking awesome.
That
I forgot.
was great.
Yeah. I forgot what it was called. I'll look it up, on when somebody else's turn. But I mean, this literally does remind me of that so much. And I remember seeing it afterwards and I'm like, holy shit, it's fucking awesome. It's got a really cool name to it too. But I mean, Baron Munchausen is another one, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't call
Time
that
Bandits.
one Time Bandits.
I liked Time Bandits.
Yeah. I mean, he does such
That's
fucking
like
great
old,
movies.
old.
And then his Zero Theorem movie, the one with Christoph Waltz, was actually pretty good too.
Yeah.
So, everybody knows Terry Gilliam from, of course, either Monty Python for the older generation or the newer generation, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Right.
So you know him and he's been in that lexicon forever. So, all right. I'll stop my rant on Terry Gilliam because I think he's great.
You're good.
All right, Stephanie.
Okay, so I'm gonna replace because I had Donnie Darko on here, right? So we've already talked a little bit about Donnie Darko, right?
We can still talk a little bit more about it.
Okay. Well, so Donnie Darko is my number 2, right?
That was my number 2 as
that
well.
one.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, cool.
Yep. So, and that one again for me, super nostalgic movie. Frank, man, right? Like Frank the bunny, like that right there. You have 28 days to, like all of that. It's just mind blowing. Because you don't really know what the hell's going on for a minute, right? And it's got all these different like characters in there that hit home for what we do every single day, right? Like the bright and shiny and the all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give that away, but it's such a cult classic. If you haven't seen Donnie Darko, like with some of the other ones we're talking about, then you're probably not as cool as you think you are. But definitely my number 2. And I know it's come up on some of our other lists here, so I know you guys agree with that. But Jake Gyllenhaal really killed it in that one. Just the whole movie is definitely mind blowing. I think is Maggie in that one too, right? Like that's his sister, correct?
Yeah.
Yep. So you gotta love Frank, man.
Oh man, that whole movie just like fucks you up.
Patrick Swayze is so gross in this movie.
Oh my
God.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say.
And I love Patrick Swayze. You guys know this, right? Like the Roadhouse throat
Yeah,
rip.
I'm with it.
Favorite
Yeah.
things ever. But yeah, you definitely do hate him after this. You're like, he did a great job in his acting role because you fucking hate him.
Oh, you really do. You really do fucking hate him in that movie. Fucking what is it? What is his tape set called?
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh shit.
Maybe that'll have to be another episode.
No, we actually
we did that a long time ago.
We did that like a year and a half ago.
That was like one of the first things we ever recorded. Was a Donnie Darko episode,
and it was like 3 hours long.
It was like 3 hours long. It was just me and Brock
talking about the music and goddamn everything in that movie. It was so fucked up. I mean, that movie, I remember it was like one of those sleepers too, that it came out about the same time, and I've talked about this before, as Boondock Saints.
Yeah.
And they went straight to video, but they were doing so good. They were always sold out of Donnie Darko because it was just one of those weird fuckery movies.
Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of people have taken it. Of course, you got those fans that are kind of weird with it. You know what I mean? Like, there's always fans that like take it too far and like live it literally. You know, it's the goth punk or something like that from your school that likes to draw fucking pictures and shit. You know, and he's all into it
because I see him.
Yeah. But I mean, it hits a lot of things on all cylinders, and then whenever you get all the way through it, holy shit! I mean, it's just one of those movies that everything works. And this is another one that has the color palette, and I think a lot of these movies, if you look at them and you look at the way that they were filmed, the cinematography, things like that, they all kind of follow that eerie tone. Yeah. Everything that they have in them, you can kind of put in that category of this is weird. You know, again,
like
with
a dream, kind of. You know what I mean? Like when you're in a dream and you're like, "Ooh, this is freaky."
Yeah, is this real? Am I really here?
Other movies try and fail at that too. You
Yeah,
know? They try, and you can tell, and it takes you out of the movie. And then movies that a lot of the ones that we've mentioned that I've seen, they just sell it so well that you don't think about it. It's just right. Yep. You know, for the movie, for the scenes, for the feeling that you're supposed to be feeling. It doesn't make you go out of the movie and think about it. It makes you feel it during the movie.
Right. And I think that's where they succeed, right? Because you're feeling it during the movie.
Exactly. And that's the best type of movie. If you can do something where somebody doesn't notice it, but they noticed it, but they didn't actually think about it. That's a cool thing to me.
Yep.
Yeah, no, this movie fucking... That's why it makes everybody's list whenever you're looking at that shit, because it's one of the more contemporary movies, but it's set in the past, you know, in kind of a nostalgic point. You have really great actors. That Noah Wyle dude, he's a good actor. And especially in this movie, it seemed like it was a more natural character for him. And then what's her name? The cokehead.
Oh, cokehead.
Firestarter.
Chick, yeah.
Drew Barrymore?
Yeah, Drew Barrymore, yeah. Tom Green's ex-wife.
The cokehead Firestarter.
Yeah.
For you, it's Drew Barrymore.
Except for your real name. But yeah, she does a really good job in it. Even the Sparkle Motion chick.
Yeah, Sparkle Motion, man.
Shit. There's a lot of good lines in that movie too. You know, I mean, and of course, Jake Gyllenhaal just kind of almost came out of nowhere with this one too. Right. And this is what made him what he is today, I really think.
I really feel Bubble Boy excelled him too. Personally, but
Bubble Vato.
Well, I mean, if you think about him specifically, though, he really does a good job of these movies. Like Nightcrawler was kind of cool. I don't know if you guys have seen Enemy. That's more recent with him in it, and that one's definitely a mind bender. So I think to what Mitch was saying, you know, we see a lot of the same actors that kind of fall into this realm and do it well.
Yeah.
So definitely, if you haven't seen those other two, those are my honorable mentions for Mr. Gyllenhaal. Is Nightcrawler. Clearly, everybody's seen that one, right? But Enemy is more recent, and that one is trippy.
Right on. Yeah,
I haven't seen Enemy yet. Honorable mentions: Jake Gyllenhaal, Brad Pitt, Jim Carrey, Robin Williams. There's so many more, but those are like a lot of the ones where they do a lot of those. They do different things as well, which is so cool that they can do that, but they follow that really good mind bender lifestyle.
Well, Robin Williams did The Fisher King. With and that's one of my all-time. It's in my top 50. Just because whenever I was really young, seeing it, I mean, it was just a fucking great movie. Right. And that's a Terry Gilliam movie too. And you can kind of see his progression in film and the way that Terry Gilliam makes these movies that they get sharper and harder edge, but yet they're still fucking fantastic and weird out there, because he's one of the main ones, just like Lynch too. You adapt your technology to it, and then these same people being in these movies too, you get to see that kind of progression into everything, which is really fucking awesome. Right. Yep. No, Donnie Darko will always be on everybody's list of what the fuck movies, because I still don't even know what's going on most of the time. You see it, and then there's those people that are like, Cellar Door, that's the name of my band. Like, for real? Come on, man. It's the most beautiful word in the English language. That's the only fandom that fucking pisses me off, is when people do that shit. And they're like, I live by it. Do you know about time travel? Dude, everything you learn about time travel, you learn from Donnie Darko.
Like, shut up.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Which then leads back to Primer.
Yes. Okay. Well, who are we on now? Dan? Well,
No, I'm exploded. I'm done.
Yeah. Well, that was your number 2, and then we also talked about your number 1
and my number 3. So yeah, I'm out.
Okay.
I got an honorable mention if you want me to throw it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
This one almost made. I mean, this was like really close to the making the list for me. Is The Machinist?
I don't think
with
I've
Christian
ever seen
Bale.
It. Yeah.
He's another one.
Oh yeah, Christian Bale.
He's in my number 2.
I know of it.
It's about a machinist who's like, he hasn't slept in like a year. He's like insomnia.
Yep.
And just weird stuff happens when this Ivan guy shows up. Yeah. And I'm just going to leave it there because I don't want to ruin things.
Yeah. Since we haven't seen
movie,
it,
yeah.
It's one of the.
It's creepy to see how skinny that dude got for this movie, though, because there's a section where he kind of shows that off, and you can see like every vertebrae in his back when he stretches, and it's kind of gross.
Yeah, I know this one was kind of like in a transitional period for him too. Like whenever he made this one was after Equilibrium. Mm-hmm. So his star was kind of rising before he got the Batman role. And this one I know was really big on his career, and a lot of people look at it. I think he like broke some sort of fucking Hollywood record or some shit with fucking weight loss. You know, like, wow. and he also, I think Christian Bale does the worst thing to his body. Like he's going to be fucked up when he's older, but you never know. I mean, stem cells and shit. Yeah. But
but he could end up like Fat Kilmer.
He could. He really could.
Dude, oh my God. I recently saw Val Kilmer, poor guy. I was like, what the fuck?
He had cancer. He had throat cancer, I think.
He's not the saint anymore.
Yeah. He had cancer, and then he's kind of come back. He's really big on Reddit, I think. I mean, he's always on Reddit on our movies or some shit like that. So he's a good dude. I did watch Red Planet the other day, if you've never seen it.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, pretty good movie.
Yeah, I would say
Christian Bale with this one, Dan. Where did that fall on like his timeline? Because like for me, Christian Bale, one of his earlier movies that I remember that really made me think like, whoa, this guy's crazy, is American Psycho, right? So
this is after that.
Yeah,
this is after that.
Psycho.
Is after.
It was after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He started with Spielberg, and his first really big movie was called Empire of the Sun.
Yeah.
Christian Bale made a lot of really low budget movies in between there, but not a lot. Like it seemed like he went into the wilderness, you know, and learned acting, and then came back and then hit it really hard with, cause my first introduction into him was Empire of the Sun that came out in like the 80s with John Malkovich. But then he did what you're talking about, American Psycho, and I followed that movie from production on. Like I had the Fangoria magazine, everything like that. I read the book, everything. And he that was his stepping stone to get to where he got to Batman. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, Batman is like the ultimate fucking role. And you know, these superhero guys, they go through these weird phases, and he does really cool work. And I mean, yeah, everybody's got to make their kind of what the fuck movies like Guy Pearce and shit like that. But I mean, literally, I think this was kind of,
I think Equilibrium got him Batman just for the action scenes.
Yeah, you think so? Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. Because he was always a big dude. I mean, if you ever watch Empire of the Sun, I think it's streaming on HBO right now. He's a little kid.
Right.
And he's really good in it. It's about a concentration camp in Japan or something like that. And they have all these United States expatriates or something like that. They're inside this bunker. Ben Stiller's in it. But he does a really good job, and he does a really good job in everything that he does.
Right.
You know, and The Machinist is one of those movies that I've never watched. I don't know why.
Really?
I just don't think anybody's ever really been like, hey, you need to watch this movie.
It's definitely one of those.
Yeah. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Yeah. I'm going to have to watch that one too. Yeah. I got my list. We all got our lists. Okay. So where are we at?
Did Mitch? Where's everybody
Mitch,
at?
number 2.
My number 2, I've been bouncing around between 2 different movies. My number 1 and my number 2 have swapped 3 times since recording this. That's how bad this is. For right now, could change in 15 minutes, but at this point I have to stick with it. My number 2 is the
Huh?
So,
whoa,
Mindbender.
You cut out there for a second.
Nobody heard the
Departed.
answer.
Oh,
okay.
There we go.
Is this Leo and Nicholson Departed? That's what we're talking about?
Yes,
Okay,
Christopher
cool.
Nolan.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
a lot of people, honestly. Like, yeah.
you know what?
Or not Christopher Nolan. Never mind. Scorsese.
Yeah.
You know, I have left out Christopher Nolan in that echelon of what the fuck directors, but he belongs in there. He's the new generation of it.
Right.
You know, he's like the 3rd generation of what the fuck guys. So you would have like fucking Lynch, Gilliam, and then him. You know, I think it really goes, cause he really does fuck some shit up. This movie though, holy shit. It's a gangster movie.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And
it has a lot of different twists that are just like, what the fuck? And you just don't see a lot of things coming. So I know it's I would guess it would probably lean on like thriller a little bit. Not thriller like a horror movie though.
Yeah.
But more like what is it
Suspense?
called?
No, it's like
suspense,
a thriller, right?
You know?
yeah, it's a drama.
But the
all the way
Mindbender, it does kind of go down the rabbit hole a little bit if you start reading into the behind the scenes and what the director did for a lot of the scenes before people died. He would put like an X or like a cross somewhere, like an homage to other things that he's done.
Nice.
Kind of cool, you know.
Have to
Different small things that were put in there.
No, that whole
The
movie.
Departed,
Yeah.
yeah.
That,
Honestly.
yeah, no, that whole movie is like fucking awesome. It's one of the Scorsese movies that I go back to a lot.
Yeah.
All of his, obviously, except for
You
that
know,
one.
it makes me so mad in the end though, because I'm like, why? Like, you know, I don't want to ruin it for anybody again.
Yeah.
But those ones that you're like, God damn it, why?
Yeah.
So close.
Scorsese.
Oh, you're so mad.
Something not a lot of people knew about this movie was it was produced by Brad Pitt too.
Oh wow, no, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, he picked it up a long time ago, from based off of Infernal Affairs, I think it was.
Okay.
Like a Hong Kong movie in 2002, and they tried to adapt it and they turned it into this. And I think it was one of the last movies that I remember really remembering Martin Sheen.
Yeah.
To be 100% honest, like since then I don't really remember any big role that he's done or anything like that. But I mean, the cast alone is ridiculous.
Yeah. Donnie Wahlberg's character, fucking an asshole.
yeah.
He's a fucking asshole. But it's like everybody that says, hey, we're going to make a movie based in Boston. He's like, I'll be there in a second.
I don't even have to leave.
Yeah. I don't even have to leave. I live here.
Right.
No, I mean, he kills it in that fucking, Alec Baldwin is actually pretty good in it. Fucking Nicholson though. Damn, he's so ruthless. I even like his right hand man, the other bad guy, Ray Winstone.
Oh yeah,
that dude is a fucking badass. Though I mean, he's so mean. Like that dude, like you wouldn't want to fuck with him. But he's probably like a giant teddy bear. But he looks like he could like tear you apart and then throw you in the fryer and eat you. You know what I mean? Like and then kick the shit out of you again, on the way out. You know what I mean? I mean, everybody in that movie was really good. DiCaprio was really showing off his chops. And that's where I think about that time, everybody was like, why hasn't he won an Oscar yet? You know, and this was kind of one of those movies that kind of started that. Even fucking Matt Damon was awesome in that movie too.
Yeah.
They
Everybody.
played their roles totally different too. Like, you know, Matt Damon is kind of like not safe, but in that environment where he has to play super safe, nonchalant, and he has to still do his job, but still has this alter ego life, you know? And then Leonardo DiCaprio, he played psychotic, not psychotic, but more like you're in that with him. Like you believe he is in that situation because he is like, listen, I'm going to fucking die if you leave me out here. You know, like I got to get, you know, you got to watch the movie, but
yeah,
it's great.
Well, even the woman too, what's her name? Vera something. I can never say her last name.
Oh, she's
Farmiga?
from
Farmiga?
she is the mom in
The Conjuring.
God, Norman Bates. Come on now.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah. No, yeah. I mean, she's always good in what she does, and this was the first movie that I saw her in. I think, you know, that I can really remembering her. You know, I mean, she had a very, very good performance in this movie, and that kind of helped her. So, are we moving on?
Sure.
We kind of jumbled it up, so I think it's going to you, Brock.
Yeah, I think so because I haven't hit my number 2 yet.
Oh, did I hit you back? Did I do some kind of reverse?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Uno.
He was a reduced Hadouken.
Reverse.
So my number 2, and I changed it because Lost Highway, I took it off my list because, again, it's there. It's my .01.
Oh, okay.
But
I'm going to put Eraserhead up there.
Okay.
Ooh,
Okay.
So this came up on my list by one of the people I was talking to in my house party on Friday. So very cool. I want to hear a little bit more about it because I've never seen it.
There's no describing this movie. There really isn't. This was one of the very first midnight movies that was only shown, you know, at these, really low rent theaters that were just trying to get in people. So they would show like, Night of the Living Dead, Pink Flamingos, and Eraserhead. You know what I mean?
Right.
So those 3 movies right there were like the greatest underground films that you could watch at that point, especially Pink Flamingos, which holds a special part in my heart.
Were you tripping on LSD for that?
Not on that one. Not on that one. No, see, if you really want to know, I think if you really want to know how much people like film almost, and you want to kind of throw people off, you show them Pink Flamingos, and if they enjoy it, or if they're like, this is fucking ridiculous, you kind of know the person a little bit because it's so fucked up. And Eraserhead fits that too. Now, Eraserhead really did influence so many different people into doing what the fuck. That's why it's so hard to describe. But Eraserhead became one of those, monoliths that people would go to, and then their whole perspective would change. So, and especially with musicians, Eraserhead really resonated with people like the Pixies or, you know, the Dead Kennedys, anybody, because they were all part of this group of people that would go there and look for something new. Like the Pixies used to play the song that's in the movie at the end of their shows all the time. I think it's even on one of their records. God, so many people have covered that song, and you know, everybody knows it because you've heard it so many times, but you cannot fucking describe this movie. Like, I don't know. I can generalize it, but I'm not going to because it will not make sense.
That's what I was even looking. I'm like, okay, how can you describe this?
It's a guy that has a baby.
That's
it. That's all I could really say. Yeah.
But even like looking at the stuff online, I'm like, that's crazy. That doesn't even make sense.
No. Yeah.
I'm slapping my hands around a bunch like I'm
talking with your hands. Well, it took him years to make this movie. Lynch was doing all those short films, and all of his short films are really fucking weird too. That's in a whole nother category of what the fuck in itself.
Yeah.
But this movie, whenever it hit, the people that were going out to see it were just like, this is amazing. And they would go tell their friends, and it would just grow just like these other midnight movies. And Lynch had a way, again, of taking that black and putting just a little bit of color, you know, and it was white.
Right.
And making the stark reality and the weirdness of the characters. You know how I hate M. Night Shyamalan, right?
Right.
This is the opposite with David Lynch, because David Lynch is a true artist when it comes to film, because he's painting on film. And he's a very big photographer too. So like he goes out, he makes his own furniture. The dude does his own paintings. I mean, the guy's a fucking badass, right? And this movie in particular was one of those that if you were to put it on a canvas, you couldn't tell what the fuck it was either. Like, how do you describe a Rothko, or how do you describe a fucking Jackson Pollock? You know,
Right.
You have a generalization of it. But can you really quantify it in anything except for what the holy fuck was that? And that's what this is. This is like abstract art on film.
Yeah,
I guess
this
that's
is like the Ramel Z.
Yes,
of
yeah,
movies.
yeah. I mean, it was found objects, because he did find a lot of objects. He did. I mean, he lived in that place. Jack Pierce, the guy that was in that, has been in all of his movies. I'm pretty sure it's Jack Pierce. I'm probably fucking wrong. But, I mean, he's a true archer when it comes to movies. And this movie in particular will leave you like sitting there like, what the holy shit. You rethink your life on this one, because it does expand everything that you're used to knowing. And you're still lost afterwards. Like you go to a different plane, and I can't really stress that enough, that you go to somewhere that you never thought you would go before with this movie. And we watched it the other day. I think it was,
Nice.
my wife finally wanted to watch it, because she's like, I haven't really seen a lot of David Lynch movies. And I'm like, okay, let's watch Eraserhead. And we got through it, and she watched the whole thing, and that's very rare. Usually she falls asleep before they end. Or she's like, oh, no, I'm watching one of your movies again, you bastard. Why can't I pick? And then so we watched it all the way through, and I was just like, holy shit, this is still great after all these years. And it's still, I think it will always resonate with, and I'm not saying you have to be extra special cool to like it or anything like that, but I think it affects people in a different way. It's either, again, like you show it to people, either they really fucking love it, or they're like, fuck you, who are you? I don't know you anymore. And then it's like, you text them and they're like, new phone, who dis? You know what I mean? It's like, you have that polar opposite on it, because it's so fucking weird. But that's basically the only best way I could say it is, it's a man that has a baby. And
that's good.
And if you watch it, holy shit, you better hold on to something.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be lost. You're going to be in a void.
For sure.
But Mitch, did you have a number one?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I did. Am I next though?
Yeah. Because we've already talked about Stephanie and Dan's number one.
Number one, though.
Yeah.
Number two.
Yeah, she gave number 2, not number 1.
Oh.
But I'll go next, and then I'll leave the number 1 last slot for Stephanie.
Okay.
Cool.
Perfect.
The number 1 on my list, which was the number 2 and number 1 and number 2 again, but now number 1.
Who does number
is
2
a
work
movie
for?
That
Number 2, number 1,
I'm
number 1, number 2,
I'm Confucius.
number 2, number 1. Sorry.
Confucius say. This movie generated a lot of superhero movie actors later on. Batman with Christian Bale and Michael Caine. And then we have Wolverine and Black Widow in there as well. So Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, Michael Caine,
I know what you're talking about.
Scarlett Johansson,
Great
and
movie.
Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis is technically Gollum from Lord of the Rings, but he's done so many. He was in Black Panther, a bunch of actually.
Yeah, and David Bowie's in this movie too.
And David Bowie plays Nikola Tesla. I believe.
100% know what we're talking about.
Nikolai
The
Tesla.
Prestige.
Yes.
Yes.
Fucking movie's great.
Such a good movie. One of my favorites of all time. And honestly, this movie is a huge list of actors for one. When I watched it, it gave me that mystical, I was in it. I was in that world, and it took me with those mind benders, finding out like how he's going mad, trying to figure out how he does the trick, you know, and figuring out.
What's the movie? I didn't hear you say what the movie was.
Oh, sorry. The Prestige.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I was just
No, you're
like,
good.
what are we talking about?
Skype is great.
Okay,
No,
The Prestige.
The Prestige is one of those movies that just really, really got me involved in the movie. I didn't feel like I was watching a movie. I was just in a movie, you know? And then when everything was happening and I love anything Nikola Tesla. I love anything super kind of like sci-fi, not to spoil it too much or anything like that. But then the huge twist at the end again, which is another mind bender kind of aspect to it. Overall, without giving a lot away of the ending, just watching those huge actors work together and do so good together, like Hugh Jackman playing off of Christian Bale.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, he was great. They were good together. I mean, for real. I mean, they really had a good chemistry on there, and so did Scarlett Johansson too in that movie. She was good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody that was in that
I really
movie was
enjoy
good.
that movie. Yes.
Yeah. That one almost made my list too, and I was looking at that one, and then I remembered that they came out with The Illusionist with the Incredible Hulk, and I was like, no.
Same year too, same summer, and I hated that.
Yeah.
Because I watched that one and it was not good, and then The Prestige was so good, and I was like, how do you have this? Is like Paul Blart Mall Cop and the other one with Seth Rogen.
Yeah. Yeah, Observe and Report.
Observe it. Yeah, they came out the exact same time, and you're like, dude, it's obvious that you're just trying to rake off each other. Like,
I don't know.
Somebody over.
Paul Blart was like Die Hard to me.
It was like Deep Impact and
Yes.
Armageddon.
Oh, yeah. It was Die Hard.
On ice.
No, yeah, The Prestige really does. I mean, when Andy Serkis shows up, you're like, holy shit, it's Andy Serkis.
Right.
And then David Bowie, you're like, oh my God, it's David Bowie.
I didn't even know that was David Bowie the first time I watched it.
Yeah. No, when I saw him, I was like, holy shit, David fucking Bowie.
Yeah.
This is gonna be cool.
I have seen this movie. Okay, I was like kind of lost there for a minute, but now that I'm reading it on there, it's a whole teleportation one. Oh yes, yes.
Yeah.
All right. I was so lost for a minute. I was like, why does this sound so familiar?
It's all about the trick of teleportation and how it's pulled off. Is it real? Is it mystical? Who knows?
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Well, the whole Tesla thing was just really cool. That was one of the coolest parts of the whole fucking movie, where they were doing the experiments with the lights, and they're here in Colorado Springs, which is cool. Hey, I mean, everybody knew where he was at doing his experiments. I think he staying at the Broadmoor too, or some shit like that.
Probably.
Yeah, I think he was at the Broadmoor Hotel. Off season or some shit like that. So it was just really cool because again, you have those moments that he puts in those movies, the director, Christopher Nolan, that he puts those, what the fuck. So again, he's that third generation guy that really does, he slicks it up though. I mean, he makes it to where it's completely obvious throughout the whole movie. You know what it is, and if you're looking in the right spot, but then all of a sudden he's like, nope, right. It's not there. Yeah, you're like, no.
That movie, it's so funny because it made people like really look into Nikola Tesla a lot more, and it's like, dude, the college kids did not need more fuel.
No.
They already hated him. Every single college kid has taken that course where they're like, dude, Thomas Edison is a dick.
Yeah. He electrocuted an elephant.
Nikola Tesla for life. Yeah.
Yeah. He was so smart. He invented the theremin.
This movie came out and they're like, see, Nikola Tesla is the best.
See, that's the kind of that. It's the same Donnie Darko fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I know everything about Nikola Tesla because I watched that movie, and then I read one of his books, and it was so good. And then for real, like, he's the man.
Say Nikola again. I really liked how you said that.
You don't know the real man like I do.
Teach me.
No, it's a good movie though. This is a fucking great movie. That was a good one.
But yeah, that's my number one. And on to Stephanie with our final number one before any honorable mentions.
Oh, I have a number one too.
Okay, so that's how it's
after
gonna work,
Stephanie.
right? Because I'm like, oh, these honorables. Oh
Yeah.
man.
I still
Okay,
have a number one too.
Well, it just kind of happened that way.
Yes.
Oh, you still? Do you have to go number one?
Wait, Brock, you have a number one?
Yeah, I
thought
still have a number one.
Yeah,
your number one was.
No.
Oh, you just swapped it.
Yeah, that was my number two. Was Eraserhead.
I feel like
We're lost.
My number two.
Welcome to the round table.
Yes, we often get lost and it switches gears.
Cool.
Okay, go for it.
So my number one is going to be Fight Club. dun.
Yeah.
It's huge mind bender, right? I mean, that particular movie strikes a chord with a lot of people because it's talking about like just our everyday life, right? You got your job that you fucking hate, you do it every day, it's same thing over and over and over again, and then he has this freaking break, and it's this other part of him, right? And again, I don't want to be a spoiler here, but once you realize what's really going on, then it all makes perfect sense. But that cast is just amazing, right? You've got Edward Norton doing a fantastic job, Brad Pitt, who's a freaking psycho, Helena Bonham, Meatloaf. I mean, we've got Leto in there. There's so many different people in that cast. That just did a knockout job, in my opinion, of just really selling the whole psychosis, right? The staying up for days and what it looks like, and there's so many awesome quotes that you get from Fight Club that we do, at least I do on a daily basis. So definitely my top mindbender movie, and it's such a weird movie to have up in there because it's not necessarily like sci-fi, it's more of a psychological mind bender because it really screws you up, especially once you realize what's going on in that one.
And it could technically really happen.
Oh yeah.
Like it's just a guy that's gone psychotic and has this other life that he lives, in other words.
You broke you.
One, if you haven't seen it, come on.
It's another one of those. Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
That made my honorable mentions, but that there's two things that we've talked about today that actually make me realize what is a good mind bender. And it's pretty much rewatchability and the ability you have to say, what the fuck, at some point in the movie, as I've noticed from the descriptions of everybody's.
Yeah.
But the rewatchability of this one, it's not just a second time or a third time or a fourth time. You can watch this one repeatedly and always grab something new from it. And it just keeps giving you some type of like, is this him right now? Or is this not? Like, what did he do? Who made this decision? And of course, his name is Robert Paulson.
Dude, there's so many quotes in this one. They're like, Bob had bitch tits. Like, there's just so many. Like, you start it out, and it's like, man, it's a great movie. Definitely one of my favorite movies of all time. But I just, when I was thinking about this list, I'm like texting Dan, and I'm sending all these like random movies. But as I'm like going through and having to actually categorize them and like rank them, I'm like, no, cross that out. No, I'll talk about that later. Well, and it was there. It's just, it fits it. Definitely just, I love Brad Pitt. But the whole cast, I think, did just a great job on that movie.
No, Norton was fucking fantastic in that movie.
That's one of my top 20 movies for sure, of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Norton was killing it at this time too because he did American History X. And
Great
then,
movie as well,
that kind of changed his star in Hollywood. And then he got this movie. And this movie, they had such a hard time adapting it, as far as like for
From the
years.
book.
Yeah, they were really, and it's Chuck Palahniuk, right? Is that how you say his name?
Sure.
I don't know.
He's the same
Well,
one.
I don't know.
Isn't he the same one that wrote American Psycho too, right?
I don't know. Let's see. Let's consult Oracle.
Yeah. Google now.
Hey, Alexa.
But yeah, no, this movie, I did watch it recently too. I don't know why I've been watching these weird and it wasn't this week. It was like 3 or 4 weeks ago we watched it because we hadn't seen it in a long time. And I was like, man, this is still fucking really good.
Yeah.
You're still just like, holy shit. I am Jack's ignorance. I am Jack's medulla oblongata. Yeah, I am Jack's humiliated.
Prostate.
Prostate.
Yeah, it's the same dude. So Chuck, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm gonna butcher it, but yeah, it's definitely the same dude.
Yeah, because he wrote a lot of books in the 80s and the 90s, and this one was such a fucking weird book that I know they had talked about it. And I think, of course, American Psycho kind of catapulted this one into actually getting a treatment and getting kind of where it's at. And I'm probably wrong. It's probably all in production anyway. But I think at the same time, too, Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston had started their own production company. So
Plan B.
Yeah. So there had been a lot of stuff that was in the works at this point. And I remember, whenever this movie came out, people were all over this movie. It brought back the Pixies, you know,
Right?
for real. I mean, everybody knows Where Is My Mind because of that end scene. Helena Bonham Carter was such a fucking badass actress in that movie. She was so good, so weird, you know.
Yeah.
She's always been weird in all of her stuff.
I was going to say, like, everything she's been in, she's weird.
Doesn't her and what's his name? Her new husband or boyfriend?
Johnny Depp?
No. the director. They like have houses by each other or some shit like that. Cause
I vaguely remember us talking about that at one point.
yeah, he divorced his first wife, which was she played Vampira in Ed Wood, which is another fucking awesome movie. And like they somehow he's always doing movies with her in it, you know.
Oh, I mean, she's like the queen of weird. Like that's definitely where she falls in my book. Like she's the queen of weird, and she does it so well. So it makes you wonder, like, is she really a fucking weirdo in real life, or like?
yeah,
probably.
Yeah, she's probably a weirdo. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know that.
Brock just brought us our
But
TMZ
probably.
corner.
Yeah,
for the first
TMZ
time,
corner.
so
She's a weirdo.
They are probably dating. They have houses beside each other, and I think they went over to dinner once together.
We caught them.
From all those weird fucked up movies.
Yeah.
But that is a very, very good choice for a number one. What the fuck? Because the first time you see it, you're like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it really kind of hits you. All right.
Even the second time when you watch it, you're still like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, every time you watch it, I think. I mean,
you know, I know this may be bad parenting moment, but that's one of the ones we did because we do music appreciation with the kids, and we also do like movie appreciation. And when I'm talking about the kids, I'm not talking about my baby, right? I'm talking about my 13-year-olds, my stepson, and my daughter.
Why not?
And that was one that we watched, and they were like, "What the?" They didn't say it, right? But they're like, "What?" What are you talking about? What is going on?
Next week they're making soap. You're
They
I'm just kidding.
go into the basement. And they're like, "What were you guys doing?" We don't talk about it.
I think
that's the first rule.
Right.
Oh, no, I remember when this came out. I was already out of high school, and like somebody got the DVD of it. I think I bought the 2-disc collector set or some shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And was just like we would watch it on repeat. You know, it was always on. Fight Club was always on. It's still going to be. I think it's still going to go down in history as one of those crazy movies. It's going to just grow and grow and grow over time. You know, there's so many of those movies, and I mean, it's just fantastic.
Agreed.
It's a good movie. That's a fucking great number one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess
there was one.
And there was one more number one. And
Unless Dan has a pop-up video number one.
Do you have any honorable mentions?
What happened? No.
Does anybody even remember pop-up video?
Yes, I do.
Pop-up video.
Yes.
Wow, that was awesome.
Nostalgia. And the number one from Brock.
Okay. All right.
My segues, they're so harsh.
It's better than mine. I'm like, all right, number one.
Number one.
Number one.
Who is your number one?
My number one mind-bending movie that still fucks with me to this day is Naked Lunch.
Oh God, Naked Lunch.
Oh, it's a good call.
Cool.
That movie, the first time I saw that, I was really drunk and high. And that same friend of mine was there
one
too.
Is when you're watching Naked Lunch for the first time, that's for sure.
Well,
Okay,
we used to go over to this house or this apartment, and it was an older sister's apartment, and she lived with her boyfriend, and they would just buy us beer, and we were only like 16 or some shit, you know.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, let's go get fucked up. And I was sitting there like, this is fucking awesome. But the other friend that showed me what Lost Highway, he was like, this is the weirdest fucking movie I've ever seen. I don't like this fucking movie. Is everybody over here gay? I was just like, what is going on? I was like, where are you getting all this shit from? But then subsequently I did read the book, you know, because I became a William S. Burroughs fan after this movie.
Okay.
Because they always had such a hard time with any of his material adapting it. And this one, because of course he was a very famous writer from the Beat Poets and the Beat Generation. So he'd been around. He was a junkie, you know.
Yeah.
He wrote most of this book without even knowing that he wrote it.
Yeah.
And sent it all in. I mean, he was a well-known homosexual.
Yep.
He was a drug abuser. He was fucking all over the place, but yet he traveled and he just didn't give a fuck. You know, Burroughs lived for a long time too, which is crazy. And this movie, no exception to the rule on what the fuck's going on. You got mugwumps. You got fucking Roy Scheider, fucking the dude from Jaws is in this movie. And he's playing weird parts. Fucking, there's weird creatures in it. And Peter fucking Weller, Dr. Weller, I should say, he's got like 3 doctorates. And he teaches a fucking class like at the University of Texas or some shit. The dude is fucking like super smart and goes after this movie. Holy fucking shit. This movie will blow your mind every fucking time you watch it. And you will not know, even still, after it's all done. Again, it's another one of those where you're just like Eraserhead. Like, I don't even, what year is it? Because he goes to different places like the Inner Zone, and from even the backstory of him writing it, he would wake up in Morocco and weird places and have fucking sheets of paper typed for this. And the movie does not sway from that at all. It still lives up to what the source material is, which is a great thing, and it's a hard thing to do for movies. And I think that's why it was so misunderstood, because it was so fucked up. Even at one point, this woman's like breathing on cockroaches and they're fucking dying. You're just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And I can see where this is another one of those that if you showed it to certain people, some people are going to fucking polar opposites are going to hate it or they're going to love it. And this got me more into this more Lynchian style and everything like that. This is a movie that introduced me to it. And I don't know why they didn't have this as my number 1 to begin with. But it's so fucking great. And I can only watch it every once in a while just because it's so unnerving.
It's so weird. It's so like disconnected too and disjointed. Like that's the only way I can describe that particular movie. And that's one, like, I still remember that even though I was super young when this came out, because as I got older, I was like, holy shit, what's going on still? I still don't fucking understand. Like,
yeah. No, even in the book, you get lost, and then it's almost like reading Hunter S. Thompson as well, you know? Right. I mean, like, you don't know where the fuck everything's going, and it'll say garbled message, and you're just like, shit. And it's just...
Am I on drugs right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Question your fucking sanity.
Yes, especially with Burroughs. I mean, Burroughs is highly influential. I mean, he lived in New York City towards the end of his life, and hung out with all the punk people. I mean, he was really big with Patti Smith, and even Kurt Cobain recorded a couple of backing tracks for one of his records.
I love how you say names.
What do you mean?
Cobain. Like, there's a little indentation, like, in the different part of the word that I do, and I love it.
Oh.
I really do. Like, I'm not even kidding.
It's just different. But
I love your accent.
It's that Texas is me trying to force the Texas out of my accent.
Yeah.
For years, I've been trying to drop that draw.
Get on out of hell.
Get on out of hell. Y'all want some barbecues?
He must have moved to Tennessee.
Yeah, I know, right? Texas sounds like me. I am Texas.
Oh my god.
Hey Texas, I'm Dad.
Hi. No, that is my 100% number 1.
Yeah.
Now we can talk about everybody's honorable mentions. Who wants to go? Stephanie?
Oh, me? Okay, cool. So I've got, you guys can see all of this shit. So there's like 5-6 sticky notes here. So I'm gonna like just spit out honorable mentions based on just a few that I think should have absolutely made it, but they just weren't like in my top 5. Original OG status, right? Like Groundhog Day. That's like one of the original mind benders, right? Like
didn't even think of that one.
You're living your life over and over and over again, and you're stuck, and like that to me is I'm like, yeah, I want to put it in there, but maybe not my top 5. So definitely Groundhog Day, right? Vanilla Sky, You know, that kind
Yeah.
of snuck its way in there, and then I took it back because other ones were better in my opinion. But Vanilla Sky definitely. What else am I looking at over here? We've already talked about all of those ones, so we're good. Oh, Live, Die, Repeat. Like, I think it's called something else.
Yeah,
Tom
Edge of
Cruise.
Tomorrow.
Yes, Edge of Tomorrow. That's the official name for it. I couldn't figure it out, and I was like scribbling it down, and I didn't have time to actually Google it. But that one's a really good one.
Yeah.
And then also Secret Window, man. Secret Window. Do you guys remember that one? It's a Johnny Depp movie.
Yeah,
I didn't really
Stephen
like it.
Stephen
Yeah.
King.
No, you didn't like Secret Window?
No, I need to watch it again. It's probably been 20 years since I've seen it. So
Yeah. So
It was
that's
okay.
my
That movie
honorable.
was the Cabin in the Woods movie.
Oh,
Yes,
no.
I
yes,
got
that's
those mixed
what
up the last podcast. Funny that you mentioned that. Too.
those
And, yeah,
Two different
that's my
movies for
honorable
sure.
mention.
that is some good honorable mentions. Dan, do you have any?
No.
No.
He's set in his ways. He knows what he likes.
Mitch, do you have any honorable mentions?
That were not just mentioned.
Yes.
Have you guys seen Memento?
Yeah,
Yes.
Memento's good.
Yes,
it's
that's
on
a
here.
great one.
I think it's an honorable mention.
I
think
should
it's
have had
great.
that in my honorable mention. Good call, man.
Yes.
Oh, and I do have one too. But you can talk about Memento first if you want. If you have
I mean,
it.
it's
It's
Memento.
great.
It's great. Go watch it.
Yeah. Pie.
Anyway.
You only have one honorable mention.
No, I have
Yeah.
a couple more. But
Yeah, I'm just throwing out Pie. Pie.
Pie I never really got into.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Pie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3.14.
Because PIE is a much different movie.
One, that pie, PI,
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
on there too. Okay.
Inception, of
Yep.
course. It was a little too given, so I didn't want to give it on that list. But I really love that movie. Like I can watch that over and over a lot.
Yeah,
Not
that's
like-
definitely was in mine too. Like I was battling with that one. That's one of the original ones I sent Dan. I'm like, ooh, Inception.
Yes, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Primer is another one that's kind of like Memento in that same, not like the same styles of movies, but like for some reason I kind of cataloged those together at like same time of getting that. Like Primer was totally different. Primer was kind of slow, but also you knew something was happening, but they just kept you out of the loop. Memento was you knew something was wrong, you just didn't know what. If that makes sense.
So was Primer wasn't the one where they get into the cardboard box, is it?
Yeah, kind of like the timey-wimey. He builds that thing in his garage, and it's a time machine, and he sees himself and his buddies like walking into the.
Yes. Okay. I did watch that one like a couple of years ago, and I mean it was good for what it was for the production value and
the
everything
time.
that they had. Yeah, the time. And that's why it's kind of stayed around. I don't think anybody owns the rights to that movie. It's like a Night of the Living Dead type of a situation because it's
Really?
streaming on everything.
Really?
For real, yeah. So I don't know if that director actually did anything afterwards. He probably did, but I think the director was the main actor in the movie, wasn't he? I think so. But that was one of those that it was kind of like a sleeper, but wasn't as popular as like say Donnie Darko and stuff.
And I pretty much have two more. Well, three technically. Interstellar and Source Code, right, are two more, and then Limitless.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's
I
with the
love-
pill, right? That makes
Yes.
his like super like activates the rest of his brain.
Yeah, like
Okay.
people only use
Yep.
20% of the brain. This activates
Yes.
the other 80.
Yeah.
And I love that movie. The show I have no idea about, but the movie was absolutely amazing as well. But overall, I had a lot of honorable mentions that were also already mentioned as well. So that was wrapping up mine.
No, Interstellar is a good one to have on an honorable mention. I mean, Interstellar is fucking crazy, and I mean, there's a lot of good movies that have come out in the past, 5 or 6 years that have had really good storylines that kind of follow more scientific points, and that one was one of them. That you really almost, I mean, you could see it happening. But isn't it a Christopher Nolan movie too? Who did Interstellar?
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
Right.
See,
I know because of the soundtrack.
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
See, so I mean, honestly, I mean, he's there. He's in there with the what the fuck directors. And that's all you got for honorable mentions, Mitch?
I mean, I felt like that was a lot, but yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, all right. I have quite a few.
Ooh.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to start it off with Moon. Moon was a fucked up movie. I thought it was crazy. And then and of course, the main guy in that movie, he always does a great job in everything that he does. And that movie was no exception because it was just him playing off himself, which is fucking crazy. And then you kind of learn what's going on, and you're like, holy shit, that's fucking cool. And then I haven't
seen that, but I saw it come up during research, and I wasn't familiar.
You really need to watch that movie.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, you'll be kind of caught off guard on it because it's such a good movie. It really is. I mean, all the way through, it's good. Then I got Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. That one's fucking crazy, and it's another Jim Carrey movie, man.
I thought about that one. That one was definitely on my probably top 10.
Yeah, it's always been up there just because it's such a trippy movie, you know. And again, you just don't know what reality is, and Jim Carrey pulls it off fucking great, you know. The grieving part of it. Right. Then I got Blue Velvet, another Lynch movie. What the fuck? I am still. Even Twin Peaks Walk With Me could be another one too. Right. Anything David Lynch, I could say that, because Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me is just one of the most beautiful films out there, but it is so fucked up. You know, it's weird. It's really, really weird. Of course, I have Inception on mine, but there's another movie, The City of Lost Children. It has Ron Perlman in it. He speaks French the whole time, doesn't he? And it's the same guy that didn't he do, no, it's not the same dude. I was thinking it was the same dude from The Crow and all that stuff like that, but it isn't.
Is it?
No, I don't think it's Alex Proyas. But I mean, what a weird fucking movie too. Like, and that was another IFC, RIP. For like I saw that on there, and that was the channel for me to watch whenever I was like 16, 15 years old, was watch IFC, because they played so many good movies, and that was another one of those, like THX 1138. Yep. What the fuck is that movie? That one kind of makes my list too. But then I don't know if you guys have seen this movie too. It's called Altered States.
Yeah.
And if you've ever listened to Joe Rogan, he talks about floating, right? He goes into the salt bath, and it's a deprivation chamber and everything like that.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
Me too.
Well, back in the early 80s, I think John Hurt was in this movie too, Altered States, and it's a fucked up movie. I don't really remember a lot about it, but it's up there. It just didn't make my list because I don't know too much about it. And then my last one, really, out of all of it, is Being John Malkovich. Because holy shit, that's a mindfuck of a movie too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes. That one, you're just like, Malkovich. I still do that shit, like, to this day. He goes into his own head.
We have done that for like 3 intros in different forms.
Yes, I know. That's in the lexicon of our shit. It's there. I mean, it is so fucking crazy. I really think that, and this is my theory, I think that all the female superstars are the same people, like the old people. They go into John Malkovich's head, so they got to pick like a new female superstar, so they can all put their powers into her head, and it becomes like Katy Perry or some shit. You know what I mean? And shares a robot.
What the fuck? See,
that's my what the fuck. That's where it comes from.
That's when I knew that this is a movie I have to watch.
Yeah. It shares a cyber robot from the year 2052.
He's been talking about it for a half hour, and I have no interest. But then he said, "You know, it's just like, what the fuck?" And I was like, "Sold,
done.
I'm watching it."
But the last thing that I want to talk about is I'm going to put together. Did you have something pulled up?
No.
Okay. I put together a list of the directors that everybody should really look at if they want to look at these, and they're generational. So Alejandro Jodorowsky, he did El Topo, and he was a big time what the fuck director. El Topo was another one of those midnight movies that came out first. Fucking weird. It's like a cowboy Jesus Christ movie. I fucking still I haven't found a copy of it, so I haven't got to watch it. Very, very foreign film. He was going to make Dune, before everybody else did.
Right.
With it wasn't Salvador Dali, but another famous painter like that was actually designing storyboards for him and shit like that. Fucking crazy. And then David Lynch, of course, he's that second generation. Terry Gilliam, Christopher Nolan, David Fincher. David Fincher did Seven and Fight Club. He's done so many fucked up movies too. Didn't he do Memento too?
Ooh, good question.
I'm asking all these questions and everybody's like,
I think Christopher Nolan did Memento.
Yeah, that's right. That was his first one. So, I mean, Fincher kind of, I mean, they're your new generation of weirdos. Putting out these weird fucking movies.
You got the OG weirdos, the new weirdos.
Yeah. And Gilliam's still making movies too. I mean, even the new Don Quixote movie was decent. I wish he would have got the funding that he wanted. It probably would have made it a lot better. But that's still, anything that he does is a what the fuck. So check those guys out. Alejandro Jodorowsky, David Lynch, Terry Gilliam, Christopher Nolan, David Fincher.
Well, I was honestly, guys, I was a little afraid when we started this that every answer that Brock had would be an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Nobody put an M. Night Shyamalan movie on the list.
But somehow...
You know what? I was gonna put
No.
What the hell did I have?
No.
No, I crossed it out. Never mind. Take it back.
Thank God.
Take it back.
I said The Matrix just in spite. So I'm just kidding. No, that was on my honorable mentions.
No, there's so many different movies, and if you took down a list while you were listening, shit, I'm gonna look up Enemy, Session 9, and I think the Machinist is on so many different things too. Session 9 I'll have to find.
I've got a good list.
I didn't vet that
and,
list.
With this fucking quarantine, sorry to be such an ass about it, but that's all you have is time on your hands, right? So I'm definitely gonna sit my ass on my couch with my sweats and watch some of these movies like Lost Highway, Session 9, definitely. So
Yeah,
I've got a list of stuff, guys. Thank
God,
you.
there's a lot of them. You'll have to like take breaks in the middle of the movies.
It depends how weird it gets, too, because if you watch too many weird ass movies in a row, you're just kind of like, okay, I need a break. So
yeah, you got to offset it. You got to really offset it with something funny,
right? Or something, anything.
Yeah, not the news,
right?
Because that's really the biggest what the fuck movie is the news right now. Every time I turn it on, I'm like, is this a fucking movie? What the fuck is going on?
Dude, that's how I feel every day. I'm like, this is fucking legit. This is real. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, again, I think our generation is one of the generations that's going to live through some of the weirdest things. Yeah. Again, with the Generation X and Generation Y are going to be like, what the fuck? We're the what the fuck generations.
Right.
We've lived through wars and fucking plagues. And fucking, goddamn, everything. I think a depression.
Depression, recession, all of it.
Yeah, all of it. I'm like, we're there. I don't know. It's crazy. Stephanie, thank you for being on the show. That's awesome.
Hey, yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks for having me, guys. Like, seriously, that was a lot of fun. I miss you guys all very dearly, and I love just kind of riffing on shit with you guys. So that's always. I'm more than happy anytime you guys will have me.
we need to have another subject so we can something like this again. And then maybe after this COVID-19 thing lifts up, you'll have to come to the studio or something.
Yeah, for sure. My what I was doing with my friend Dean, it just we kind of died with that because health issues and stuff for him. But yeah, I absolutely love it. It's good to connect with you guys and just shoot the shit, man. It reminds me of back in the day,
Oh, yeah.
It's funny. Me and Mitch have two of our ex bosses on this podcast right now.
We work for a company that will remain unnamed.
Hey, that's pretty cool when I didn't even think of you guys as ex-bosses or the fact that and any of that. That's actually cool.
Right on.
Hey, don't forget to let us know if you have a top 5 that you wanted us to hear. And on top of that, if you disagree, we don't really care if you agreed. But just let us know if you disagree with ours.
Yeah.
I want to hear that. That'd be interesting.
There's got to be some other what the fuck movies out there that we didn't cover because I think we covered a big bulk of them because there's a shitload of them.
SpongeBob the movie is one of the biggest mind benders I've ever seen.
The part where they go down even into the darker seas. It's so crazy.
I mean, come on, really, the original South Park movie? That's kind of what the fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, that movie. That movie.
Or, I mean, you could even put Little Nicky in that. Come
Yeah.
on, you're sticking pineapples in Hitler's ass. It's like a times thing.
That's why I didn't think of Groundhog Day, but Groundhog Day is one of the biggest what the fuck movies.
Yeah,
I didn't even think of it. I thought it more of a comedy.
I may have been in an altered state when I first watched the South Park movie in the theater. My ribs hurt so bad when we left that theater. I was like, oh my God, I can barely walk. I was like, we gotta watch this. I need food.
I started actually getting into South Park by having a friend that went to church and then had the first season and then felt obligated to get rid of it because he was going to church. And I was like, I will take that off your hands for $5, sir.
You're
He was guilty. He felt guilt.
I went to the same church with him, and I was like, I will take that $5. Thank you.
You know what's crazy though? That was the first DVDs that I ever bought. Was the set, the first season.
That might have been mine too. The first season set.
Yeah, and they came out in like a triple pack, so there was 3 different discs. And you could buy them individually, but somebody just shrink wrapped them and put them all on for one price.
I loved how they like make fun of Pueblo in that. Like, it's fucking ridiculous how much they like make fun of Pueblo. Like,
I had no idea.
Oh, watch it. There's a couple of episodes. There's one where they're playing baseball or whatever against Pueblo. It's super racist, but I mean, come on, you didn't expect anything less from South Park. So.
What? I thought this was America. That episode was amazing. Sorry, I didn't even realize it was Pueblo. I got to rewatch that now.
Yeah.
Well, we are the worst at ending podcasts, and it's an ongoing tradition at this point. But I have no idea where you guys are.
No, I think we're done. We are done for the day.
Yeah, we're checking in, checking out.
Dundies.
Checking out.
Peace out. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Check everybody out online at www.dropculturepodcast.com or dropculture.com. It's the first time I fucked it up in a long time. Hit us up on all the socials at Drop Culture or Drop Culture Podcast. Just look us up. You'll find it everywhere.
Just throw letters. And
put everything with a period.
And cultures.
Yes.
It's cool.
We finally don't have to worry about you being very specific for it to pull up the results.
Yeah, you just got to look up Drop Culture.
We can actually just kind of roughly Dropped Culture. It'll pull it up.
Yeah, no matter where you go. Yeah, spend some time on the website. We got news and we got cool shit, and we'll have this episode out pretty soon. So nobody's going to be hearing it until then. So have a good day.
Bye, guys.
Peace.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible.